Okay. So yeah, maximizing Black Friday ROI. We're gonna set up server-side tracking in 15 minutes, which I know you signed up for an hour, and yeah, we will use that time for questions and such. So no worries there. Like I said, I'm Dan. I'm a data tracking measurement lead at Stape. I always brag about having done roughly a thousand server-side setups. So that's supposed to mean I know what it is I'm telling you guys today. I'm joined by my colleagues Alex and Vlad here. Those guys are taking care of questions in Q&A. So as we go, feel free to type anything that interests you, and they will be taking care of that. The most interesting topics we will leave for the live Q&A at the end of the session. And of course, you will be able to answer more during that time as well. Now, some procedural things. Everybody will get a recording. Everybody who missed this or anything will get a follow-up email with a webinar recording next week and some relevant material and URLs, links relevant to the topic of our conversation. So if you arrived late or anything, don't be discouraged. You'll get everything. Okay, session outline. So why it's time to switch to server-side tracking to boost your conversions? I mean, duh, but yes, we're going to talk about that. Overview of Stape's free tools for tracking setup. We're going to touch on tracking checker. We're going to touch on a CMS app, in this case, Shopify. We're going to talk about the setup assistant, which is the latest tool we've released like a couple of months ago. And I will, of course, do a live demo of utilizing all that and showing you how that can sort of benefit you and how it can take a lot of stress out of a tracking implementation. And then, of course, there's Q&A, like I already said. So we'll do that by the end of the session. Right. Some basic stuff about Stape. I know, according to the questionnaire, there's some people who joined that are not yet a customer. So yes, we are a hosting provider, first and foremost for server-side Google Tag Manager, but we also distribute some like ad hoc solutions such as Meta Conversion API Gateway, TikTok API Gateway, Snap, if anyone cares. But our focus, of course, is on GTM as well as this webinar. We when we host the containers, we obviously do it in a managed sort of fashion, so you never have to deal with the infrastructure scaling or anything like that. And obviously, on top of it, we bring a ton of features that just make your life easier and that cover most common use cases or maybe most common challenges that you may, that you may face in your tracking endeavors. We have just turned 5 years, more or less, I believe. We currently have more than 200,000 customers and 500 partner agencies. We are the most certified server-side vendor out there. The stuff you see on the screen is not extensive. There's actually more, I believe. So you name a certification, we'll have it. We process roughly 10 billion requests daily across the customer base in 25 server locations. And of course, like I said, security and privacy is a big deal, hence all of those icons. Right. Your data plus server-side tracking equals love, obviously. I think most of you probably know this by now, but still. So business impact of data, right? And why are we even speaking about all of this, and why are we connecting this to Black Friday? May be obvious, but you're gonna get a ton of traffic on your Black Friday. You're probably already preparing your campaigns, or maybe already have prepared them. And to maximize the efficiency of those, to make sure you're not missing out on such a heavy holiday, on such a heavy, what do you call it, revenue period, you want to make sure that, at least from the technical standpoint, everything is pitch perfect, and you're not missing out in places where you can easily fix it with something like server-side tracking. So you want accurate data, meaning you want to deliver as much signal as possible to any advertising platform so that they can optimize your campaigns better and ultimately bring you more results, which inadvertently, of course, leads to increase of the ROAS and better insights into customer behavior. This is more of an analytics thing rather than campaigns, which I'm talking about, but also touches on the same sort of principle. The more data you ultimately push, the better results you can expect, be it in your analytics efforts or in any advertising cabinet out there, Meta, Google Ads, you name it. Major issues with all of this, major things that impact that quality of data, that quantity of data, and such. So, one is ad blockers and privacy restrictions, right? We're not bypassing any privacy restrictions. Obviously, law is the law. If a person is, have not provided you with a consent to be tracked, we're not going to. But ad blockers are not regulated by anything. And we know that roughly 37% of users on the web in general, this may be fluctuating from country to country, from region to region, but in principle, we see, I should say we see, but that's just like the stats. The 37% of users use ad blocking scripts. Uh, Most of them, I imagine, I don't want to put words in their mouths, but most of them are using it to block banner ads, not to prevent you from collecting data into your Google Analytics or into your Google Ads. I don't think so. Uh, of course, there's iOS privacy updates. A ton of users do their buying from their iPhones and such, so you are affected by things like ITP, ETP in non-Safari, in Firefox, if I'm not mistaken. So not only you are prevented by ad blockers and such from sending the data in the first place, your quality of data and in this case specifically attribution of that data, attribution of those conversions is also affected by the browsers such as Safari, Firefox, Brave, and others, right? Because even if you managed to send a conversion to a destination, that doesn't necessarily mean that that conversion will ultimately be attributed because a cookie with a click ID or anything would have been removed by the browser, meaning that the destination received their signal, but it was less valuable and it's harder for them to attribute it and then again cycle funnel it into the cycle of optimizing your campaigns and doing the learning and everything. So short cookie lifespan. And of course, this leads to lost conversions, poor attribution, some wasted money on your ad budgets, and higher costs per result. And yeah, we play the same tune. So the solution in our mind is, of course, server-side tracking, obviously. So the main objectives is to pretty much fix what I just outlined. We want to minimize data loss, as in we want to send every single conversion possible. We don't want to be blocked by ad blockers and such. We want cleaner data, meaning, again, if we have to redact something, we can with server side, but I would say this also speaks to the cookies. You're not just sending a generic conversion, but you're sending it with actually like the click ID that may have been there. Better GDPR compliance is relative, depends on your specific case, but server side in principle, of course, lets you redact anything you're sending to any given destination. So if you have some specific particular limitations or regulations that affect you, you can still enjoy reporting to a platform, but just strip out the data that you're not allowed to. Right, now come the more interesting part. Sorry about the lecture. Stape free tools for tracking setup. We're going to start with website tracking checker. So this is not an implementation per se. This is like a tool to analyze what you got going right now. Essentially, this is a bot that you will give us a URL of the website. We will do a scan. It will take like a minute or so, and you are getting a deconstructed report, which will not only have the score that you see in front of you and some high level scoring, but it will show you the trackers that were detected. We will tell you which of those trackers are only client side, or maybe some of them are already client side and server side, or just server side, depending on the platform. You can see on my example here, again, this is a generic example, but Pinterest for somebody is done client and server side, but the heavy lifters like Meta, GE4, and Google Ads are only client side. That's something that obviously can and should be improved. We're gonna give you like a breakdown of your cookies and their lifetime. We'll evaluate if your setup is done in the way that cookie lifetime is improved, right? Prolonged via means of server side. If it's not, again, this will be highlighted and propose for you to fix. Yeah, if you actually go ahead and run that report, there will be a ton of suggestions written out for you. We will indicate how much of a score gain you'll get from that. Score is arbitrary, of course, but we will tell you, how you can improve your tracking like today or tomorrow. Tool number two is we have integrations with most e-commerce platforms, and since the subject of this conversation is Black Friday, that I think that's very relevant. So yes, there's Shopify, there's WordPress and Magento, BigCommerce, Wix, Press2Shop. There's some more coming in the works. What these apps do is they will embed your web container on your site in a proper way with things like bypassing of ad blockers. It will provide an e-commerce data layer on your website ready to be used, which, oh yeah, I rushed myself. So yeah, Shopify app is an example. We're talking Shopify today. So as you can see here on the screen, it lets you embed your GTM web container with a custom subdomain with some magic from Stape on top. You can activate a data layer, and pretty much you're halfway there to to have your tracking setup done. So the apps simplify the website part of it. There's some webhooks functionality. This is not something that we're talking heavily about today, although might come in handy if you want to achieve like 100% of your purchases to be actually picked up and reported. You can utilize webhooks for that. Another use case is refund events, which a lot of times will not occur within a browser session. So a webhook would be the only way to track that. But again, not going to focus on webhooks today too much. And then comes the setup assistant. This is a tool that you have in Stape admin interface, which just allows you to pick a platform such as Shopify, pick a selection of destinations that you're reporting to, uh, you know, input some tracking IDs, which is optional. You can do it on the container level going forward. And what you're getting in the end is you're getting a template for web and server container, like a pre-made template for those containers, which you can either automatically or manually import into your container pair and, well, start testing. And that's exactly what we're going to do right now, right? In a second, I'm going to switch to from the slides to just my browser. We're gonna install an app on Shopify. We're going to use the setup assistant to give us the container templates. We're gonna implement them, run them, test them, and well, switch to Q&A. All right, so a couple of things. My weapons of choice today is Shopify, obviously, the Stape Server GTM app, which I already have installed. This is available on the marketplace for everyone to use. The app itself is free. By the way, you don't really even have to be a Stape customer to reap some benefits of this because you can still embed your GTM container here without being a Stape customer. You can still enjoy the data layer that we're providing without being a customer. It's yeah, so it's agnostic like that. Then obviously I have a server container ready. I have a web container ready. I have my mock store here with some example pants, t-shirts and such. This is a Shopify development store. And yeah, I think let's just, oh yes, my last tool of choice would be Stape, right? So let me log in into that real quick. Do it off screen because who knows what I got there. Bear with me. All right, here. One quick second. We have all the time in the world because I promised you we'll do it in 15 minutes, right? So, yeah, almost there. Right, and here comes my Stape account. I have plenty of containers here, but there's one that's created specifically for this. So I already got it hosted. I already got some subdomains. I don't want to focus on this too much today, but I'll just briefly run you through this. So if you're not if you're still not on Stape, but you're looking into server-side tracking, or maybe you already have your server GTM container running on GCP or elsewhere, maybe self-hosted, the way you would do it, so when you create an account, you can say, I want to create a new container. You want to give it some sort of a name. This is absolutely arbitrary. Now, what's important is this container configuration string. This is something you can get in your server container settings. In my case, here it is. It sits here. Don't be sure to copy the entire thing. That's important. So you plug it in here. Oh, sorry, I haven't copied. You plug it in here. You select the region. Normally, you want to select the region that's closest to your business operation, right? There's plenty of zones available that were covered globally. There's a multi-zone feature possible for business plans and higher. This is where your request will be handled by the zone closest to the origin of the request. And then you hit create container, and essentially you reach this state that I've just shown you where you have your container name. It will be up and running with some settings here, and it will be on you to add a custom subdomain to your container. So essentially make a DNS record, right? We want to make a first party subdomain, so something that is the same as our top level domain, but a subdomain, obviously. And you can do it automatically via an entry integration that we have, or manually just by doing those DNS records. Again, I'm not going to do that. I have prepared myself for this webinar to save us all some time, but there's absolutely nothing hard about it. You can click learn more and we'll give you an article and explanations on what's going on and how to do it. So that's just quickly to tell you how to, set up your Stape hosting for the GTM container. That's not the best part though. We're gonna switch to Shopify and start playing with it. So I want first and foremost to embed my web container to my Shopify website. And I will do it in a couple of steps. Rely on Shopify customer privacy. No, we're not going to do that today. And I just can click save, right? And do nothing else. And already I haven't touched the data layer, haven't touched nothing. I just put my GTM web ID here and inserted the thing. Hit save. Now, if we look at our website and search for GTM.js, you will see that that exact container is being successfully downloaded. There's a 200. That's the same ID I've put there. And this is happening on all pages of your website. Now, uh, sorry. Okay. There's options though, right? Since you have added a custom subdomain to your Stape account here, in my case, this will be this. We can also go ahead and do something like this and save again. What's going to change is we're still downloading the same GTM.js, but it's now downloaded from your own subdomain. So this is a first party request. And this already enables you to bypass some of the prevention tools, some of the, I want to say, like light ad blockers and such. Just the sheer presence of a custom domain instead of something that is Google will let you bypass those ad blockers and successfully load your container on site. That's, however, not good enough because ad blockers are sort of smart these days, and well, I don't want to say powerful, but smarter than just this. So we can go further. We can go to our Stape account and copy this container identifier thing and put it right here. Hit save again. And what's going to happen is that we are not going to find any GTM.js anymore. We are also not going to find any GTM ID anymore. 5NK was it? Right? You can see there's nothing happening here, however much I refresh. However, the container is there. So if we filter our network by the subdomain, this is the stuff that I copied from Stape, you will find the string of gibberish here with some query parameters, which is what's essentially responsible for bypassing of ad blockers. Because this string, this is your first party subdomain. This has nothing to do with tracking or anything like that, cannot be recognized as such. which by the way is why we normally recommend to name your subdomain something not obvious. Don't go for like tracking or analytics or metrics or anything like that. Do something obscure. I've done cornucopia here. You can do anything literally. Right. The second part is this gibberish string, which is encoded and to an ad blocker, to any script. This does not look as anything that's related to GTM or any sort of tracking. So this is essentially how we bypass those ad blockers. And to remind you, we have done it simply by clicking three checkboxes and providing some basic inputs. Now, from here on, we switch to the data layer part. Obviously, we want to add e-commerce data layer events. That's a given. We want to append Stape to those data layer event names. The reason for that is you may already have some data layer on your website, and by decorating the events like this, we're making sure that there's no tag misfirings, right? Let's say it's an add to cart event, you already have it configured, you're trying this out. We don't want to add another add to cart event and have you double fire your existing tags. So by virtue of adding the suffix to the event name, we're making sure that you are not, like I said, you're not double firing your existing tags potentially. There's nothing to do with branding. This is just like a precaution tool. Now, to check that out, we can quickly run our web preview uh, and go to our website. So I will open a product page where I will receive my view item Stape event, hence the suffix, like I told you. And you can see this has the entirety of the e-commerce information. I have my value, currency, I have my items array structured in a GA4 format. I have my IDs, SKU, variants, name, price, brand, image URL if you're doing like abandoned carts or something like that. I have my quantity. Also, since I'm a logged in customer, in this specific instance, I have an account. The app is also pushing the user data that's available to it. So in this case, first name, last name, email, and the customer ID, which again, you can use in your tracking endeavors. We can do an add to cart event that will pop up here as well. Same principle, same structure. So you have all of those e-commerce events in your data layer at the click of a button. Last thing is to copy this code. This is very Shopify specific because Shopify has done what they call checkout extensibility. That's a sort of an approach, let's say, to how they're doing their checkout. They encapsulated it and protected it for the sake of security a lot. And now on checkout pages and on thank you pages, we are stuck with doing tracking from this isolated sandbox that they have. So unfortunately, you will have to put a piece of code into the thing yourself. But again, you don't have to even know what this does. Your job is just to copy this, go to settings, find your customer events, click add custom pixel, give it some name. You can call it Stape DL, doesn't matter. Again, the name is arbitrary. Copy the entirety of the script. In here, this does not qualify as data sale because this pixel is not sending information anywhere. We are just bubbling it up to our data layer. So that's not leaving the page with the means of the script. So no, this is not data sale. Customer privacy, I will go with not required. If you want to, you can stick to this. This is internal Shopify consent. But those of you who care about consent will probably run consent banners and handle that on that level. So by default, I would go with not required. However, feel free to, do what you have to do. All right, so not required, not qualified as data sale, and a copied piece of code. We're gonna click save. And now that it's saved, we're also gonna click connect. Boom. Now, if I go back here, Stape Server GTM, you see branded, is an app thing. This is because we installed the app. But on top of it, we've created this custom pixel, named it Stape DL. This is now connected because I clicked all the buttons. This essentially gives us a data layer on checkout events. So begin checkout, add payment info, purchase, and such. Right. So with that out of the way, I have my GTM container on the site. I have it with a custom loader downloading from a different domain. I have protected it from ad blockers by obfuscating the URL. We have added the data layer. All that remains to be done is actually utilize all that and make sure that we do our tracking. So we are going to go to Stape here. I'm going to click on a setup assistant. You can see I already played with it. So I'm going to go back to step 1. And okay, here we are. So at this point in time, we're only supporting e-commerce, which is beautiful for the purposes of this webinar. So e-commerce will be selected by default. We want to choose a platform that is supported by Stape. So there's Salad, BigCommerce, PrestaShop. We already went through that in the slides. There's an option to do other if anyone cares. We will still give you a template, but it will be accompanied by a data layer documentation, which you would have to implement on that other site, whatever it might be. But of course, today we're talking Shopify. So we're going to do Shopify. You can select, do you require consent settings or not? So if you're in Europe and you're using any of these certified CMPs, you can say that. I will go with no today because it's a development web store. I don't have anything going, but in principle, you can select, I don't know, CookieBot probably would be an often thing. So yeah, but anyway, I'll go with no. We hit next. Our next is to decide what destinations and do I want to report to, right? You have this list of 8. I will probably want my Google Analytics, most likely. I will want my Google Ads and remarketing to Meta. And just for the fun of it, I don't know, let's do TikTok. Again, you can pick and choose. You can do whatever combination. This is why it's here. So just tick the check boxes. We go next. And here comes the time for the inputs. So again, I want to stress out, this is fully optional. The tool is generating container templates for you. So you can then populate all of these IDs inside the containers themselves if you want to. But if you have them handy, you can do it from the get-go right here. The most important thing is this service side URL. This is my subdomain that you have already seen right here and in my Stape account. So this will be the destination that our web containers sends things to. And then there's some required inputs. Again, not required, optional. You can do them from the container, but the inputs that are needed for those tags to actually fire toward a proper destination, right? So I have some dummies here, simply so that we can check that my inputs are actually in the templates that I'm going to show you. So let's do something recognizable like this. Let's call this meta, I don't know, something like that. We have our Google Ads. So let's do Google Ads conversion ID. Again, these are mock values. Of course, the expectation is you put something proper here. So we have purchase conversion label, begin checkout conversion label, add to cart conversion label. All of them are recognizable, so we can double check that in the containers themselves. And then we hit next. Now you have a choice. You can do this all automatically. So that will prompt you to log in into your Google account, give it permissions to give it like proper scopes to access your containers and such. I'm not going to do that today because that's happening sequentially and that will take us some time to load all of that into your containers. I'm going to show you the manual way, but the outcome at the end of the day is the same. It's just a method of delivery of it from Stape into your Google Tag Manager container. For the purposes of this demo, like I said, I'm going to do manual. So let's pick that and just hit next. So you wait a couple of seconds and you have this import templates. Templates are ready. Now it's your turn, my turn to import them. So I have a web JSON, I have a server JSON, I have downloaded both. There's some supporting information for you here. There's some links and articles that will help you sort of use this and do it in proper steps if you need that help. But I'm pretty much done. I've downloaded the 2 templates. Now, let's close these preview sessions and let's actually throw them into those containers. So I'm going to go web container first, and we're going to go to admin, import container. I'm going to choose a container file, which will be my web template. We're going to choose a workspace. I'm going to say existing one. And now you have a choice of merge or overwrite. Most of the time, I imagine you would already have your web container with some sort of a setup. So merge is the way to go for you, not overwrite everything with this template that we've given you. You may not trust us yet. So of course you would go with the merge and probably override conflicting tags again, just to make sure you're not removing anything you don't want to remove. Again, to make this presentation simpler, I will just do an override so that we have a clean container, just to showcase you how this works and that you can actually rely on it. But most likely in the wild, in the real scenario, you would go with merge. So container template, workspace, import method, and let's click a button. Let Google think for it for a second. All right, okay, this is done. And yeah, let's take a look. Actually, we have the time, so let's take a look. So remember, we selected GA4, Google Ads, Meta, and TikTok. Here's what's happening. Everything is structured into folders for you. So we have all of our data layer variables already created and mapped out. You have all the e-commerce stuff. You have all of the user data that's possible. All of that user data, all of that variables are of those variables are already mapped out in your tags here. So we can look at, let's say, GA4. If we look at the GA4, this is configuration, sorry. Here's our measurement ID. Remember, this is our mock input, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So this sits here already uh, ready to report to this destination, which is non-existent. Now, here comes the part where you can always change this in the container if you wanted to, and all of those inputs we've done on step 3 of the setup assistant, which is right here, right? They are all optional. Like I told you, you can always play with them inside the container. So let's hit save on this. Now I have my full e-commerce suite here. I have my page view, I have my view item, I have my view cart, add to cart, begin checkout, purchase, view item lists, everything that is supported by the data layer. I have my not ecom, sorry, I have my remarketing parameters already plugged in to be sent to the server. So we have our ecom prod ID, total value, and page types. Again, all of that is pulled from the data layer, readily available. I have my meta pixel set up here. It has that pixel ID that we put here, meta 666. Let's probably be more civil. Uh, so you have the set of your meta tags, you have the set of your web client side TikTok tags. Everything is there, everything is ready and configured, which we're going to check in a second. But we also have our server container, and we do the same exercise. We import and we make sure to select the correct template, the server one. We choose a workspace. Again, I'm going to go with the existing. And we either override or merge it. Again, I'm going to do override. Likely, in reality, you're going to do a merge, not to mess anything you got going already. So let's do that. And in here on the server, pretty much the same situation occurs. I have my GE4 represented by a single tag, which is fine. I have my Google Ads set up with all of those variables already plugged in. Like I have my conversion ID and ATC conversion level for label for add to cart. You can always check them here. These are our inputs from the setup assistant. Again, you of course obviously can change them here. You have the metapixel with the conversion API token, something that wasn't there on the web. You have the TikTok events API with the credentials as well. Now, probably also important is that every single parameter in the tags is also already mapped out for you, mapped out explicitly so that you understand what's happening for every single data point. There's a reference to the variable. It, I think, makes debugging much easier. You understand what the tag is receiving, what it sends out, and you also can always go ahead and remove something if you wanted to. Like, I don't know, let's say for some reason you're not allowed to share a state. Let's do a dummy example, right? So you can go ahead and just remove it on your own, and it's just much easier than than relying on whatever auto parsing the tag would do. So in principle, we've set up the application with a couple of clicks. We've done the setup assistant with a couple of clicks. We now have a container pair with the setup that we asked it to do, right? So let's see that in action real quick. I will do a preview on the server container. Give it a second to load. Actually, while it's loading, let's launch the web one. This is my store. Give it a minute. This is preview server being launched. So don't get alarmed. This is all working, right? Okay, and now we can launch the preview and just see all of that in action. Let's go to a product page and let's actually add to cart as well. So here we are. We have our data layer pushes. We have our view item Stape. Don't mind the failed tag. It failed because we have given it a dummy pixel ID, which is obviously non-existent. So we have our view item event, like I already discussed. This is all the data there, and we have our data tag, our GE4, and our meta successfully firing, carrying that data. So if you look at the meta, it has my user data again because I'm a logged in customer. It has that Facebook pixel ID, which is not true. And there's the value, currency, there's the contents, which is my item ID, quantity, item price. There's contents ID array, very popularly used. I apologize for the voice. And this is happening on every single event, right? If you look at add to cart, for instance, the same situation here. There's the Facebook firing with all of the same data. There's the GA4 with value currency and the entirety of the items array. There's our TikTok on the web sending the same. And of course, since this is a server-side implementation, all of that is also reaching our server. You can see we have a bunch of page views, view item, add to carts, and the same principle stands here. So these have failed because we have given them dummy inputs, but in principle, this is view content firing from the server. It has carried the ecom information as well. And here's my user data hashed because that's what the tag does. And yeah, you can see the same for TikTok. Pretty much the same info, very similar structure because I think they copied the API from Facebook. We can see on a GA4 stream conversion linker firing. We can see remarketing firing. We can see on an add to cart a conversion event for Google Ads firing. Again, this has gone to nowhere because we have given it some non-existing destinations, but still. So pretty much that does it, right? We have a working setup, which of course I would encourage you to still like test to the full extent. Go to go to checkout, uh, like generate some events here. This is a test thing, so I can do something like that, I believe. I don't know, 26, and do a purchase event and see how that all works. You can see begin checkout is already hitting our container with the tags firing. There's that payment info. Purchase is supposed to land here as well. So obviously, I mean, trust but check. You want to debug everything. You want to make sure that the setup fits your actual needs, especially if you've selected the consent option. Make sure that, everything is working as you've intended it. But in principle, that does it. So to sum up, we installed an app, we ticked a couple of checkboxes, give it some simple inputs that we copied from other places like Stape or GTM. We ticked some checkboxes here, copied this piece of script. We went to Stape, launched the setup assistant, and in the end, within 15-ish minutes, we got our two containers ready to handle your tracking, following the best practices that we sort of, what's the word? Well, anyway, that we proposed, let's say. And yes, it's only then on you to test it out and hopefully just publish and have your campaigns, work as you want them to. So I think I'm done with the demo. I'm gonna stop sharing my screen and look what you guys have done there in Q&A. Maybe there's something that I need to address in voice. Okay, Simon, why do many freelancers not install the app in the Shopify? I wouldn't know. I suggest they would, but my assumption would be that maybe freelancer wants to charge you for the work of creating a data layer, which can be avoided by using the application that I just showed you. Again, purely an assumption. I don't want to badmouth anyone, but I don't see reasons to, you know, to do that. Unless you have a very, very specific and particular case and you really, really need a custom data layer for whatever sort of reason. Maybe you maybe you follow this crazy format. Maybe you're using something like Snowplow that requires specific schemas. I have no clue, but I guess since freelancer word was there, it's probably like a schema. Um, okay, this is answered. Is advanced CDN necessary in a subdomain? Uh, no, this is not necessary. So when you pick CDN on Stape, there's two options you have. You can choose Stape CDN. That will just make it will ask you for an additional DNS record, but you will be able to just deliver your container faster. So the web container on the website will be downloaded quicker than otherwise. That's what Stape CDN does. If you opt for your own CDN, that has to do with first party context and such, but that's pretty complicated. And also, you can't do it on Shopify because Shopify IP addresses are reserved. So no, you don't need it unless you specifically need it. By default, I would say no. Hubert, sorry if I'm butchering the name, Hubert. Is this state plugin gave me data layer purchase event and begin checkout? This is a problem in Shopify. Oh, yes, yes, of course it does. Now, okay, we have time, right? So let me elaborate on that specific question real quick. The problem you have with normal implementations in Shopify is that you may remember I mentioned this briefly. This checkout thing, the thank you page, the begin checkout itself, let's go create one real quick. Checkout. This is not accessible to Google Tag Manager. This is not accessible by any of your custom code. You can no longer inject code on this page, which is why you're saying that a lot of implementations are struggling, suffering, and everything. We have fixed this by doing this. Specifically, to track checkout events, please follow these instructions. And we went ahead, copied this, and pulled it into the where you are, customer events, and we've created this pixel. So what's happening in reality, sorry, let's go to checkout, is you do have a data layer, only it's not quite visible, right? So we went from the product page, you see this was the preview, everything went okay. We went to checkout, now it says, well, no Google tags found. That's not quite true though. There are no Google tags found on the parent page, but in that sandbox, which I have mentioned, and we can find it somewhere here. Give me a quick sec. Yeah. In that sandbox, which what I did in the console, I switched the context, the sort of the frame in which I'm running my commands. So in that sandbox, there's actually my GTM running. There's a page view state event, there's a begin checkout state event, and your tags have fired from under that same sandbox. And yeah, you can't quite see them in the web preview, but we've seen that the server preview hits us, right? This is begin checkout. This was sent from a sandbox here, but it reached the server container. And that's like sort of a proof enough for you that it's actually working and you can expect them to come to your server container. Worst case, you can also go to console, check the data layer, or you can go to your network tab and see. Well, I should have done it before. Let's refresh. And see what's being sent out like this on the network request level, right? So your preview is failing you a little bit here. Thank you, Shopify. Again, this was done for the sake of security and everything, but it's sort of unelegant from a tracking perspective, but it still does work. So let me stop this. So answering your question, Hubert, yes, it does handle begin, checkout, and purchase events. You can fully rely on it, and it's all configured to sort of do that. Anonymous attendee. Question number one. Can we use the Stape created domain instead of the own custom subdomain? Well, you can, but you should not. Because I would say you want to use it only maybe for testing, just to understand the data flow and what's going on in the containers. The reason you want your own subdomain is you want the server container to live under the same top level domain as your website. That enables it to set cookies, first party cookies, on your domain. If your server container lives behind Stape.io, the responses that GTM returns back to the web will be third party responses because it will be a Stape domain attempting to set cookies on your website, which is not Stape.io. So you technically can, but you're not really achieving much while doing that. Question number two. Once we import the JSON container only for GE4 and later create a new template and set up a system for Google Ads and Meta, then what option should we select in Web and SGTM while importing JSON files overriding? Well, it depends. I mean, you can go, let's say you've selected GE4, now you want to add Google Ads and Meta to it. Essentially, unless you have done any changes to what the template provided you with, you can go ahead and merge. Because if you launch the setup assistant again and you pick the same platforms but some additionals on top, and you override it, you have overridden it with the same stuff. You will even see this in when importing. There will be less amount of changes than that you would expect because you would already have a piece of it. So override or merge doesn't really make much difference there. But again, if you want to be cautious, do merge, but just be like sort of be mindful of what's going on. Question three. What about in lead generation business? A set up business system regarding Google Ads events. Do we need to create manually inside web and SGTM? So yeah, you would have to create them manually as with sort of any tracking setup, but you may have seen when I clicked around the setup assistant, the lead generation option is there. It's grayed out. So it's not yet supported, but stay tuned. That's the next update to the setup assistant. We're going to support some lead gen templates as well, which the sort of ultimate purpose of that is that it's as easy as what I showed you right now with the commerce, and it will apply to like a ton of generic cases as well. So yeah, stay tuned. Why is the transport URL inserted in all event G4 event tags? Gabrielle. Okay, this is done. This is like a redundancy sort of protection. I want to make sure that every single tag I fire actually goes to my server container, not directly to Google. And that's not going to happen within these templates because everything is configured properly, but that's sort of a precaution tool. Imagine that some event fires before your configuration fires. What happens in reality now is that Google will automatically fire Google configuration, but that Google configuration will have nothing to do with the one you configured, ultimately leading to that event firing towards Google Analytics directly. And as you may know, when you're firing them directly, they're using a different set of cookies, and they will not be properly attributed to the events that pass through the server because this thing uses different set of cookies. So you really want everything to go client side or everything to go server side with GA4. So again, to recap, having that URL in every single tag is just a precaution sort of tool. Question four. What about the What about the transformations role in case of state template is GTM? So that is covering a Shopify case for Google Click ID specifically. That funky sandbox thing that I showed you messes with how cookie headers are passed to the server container. So that transformation has merit specifically for Shopify. If you're attempting the setup assistant on other e-commerce platforms, you don't really need it. It still lives there because, well, it's easier like that. But yeah, you do need it on Shopify. It's crucial for your Google Ads begin checkout, purchase, and conversions that happen within the sandbox environment. So yes, that's there for a reason. There are 6 JSON containers available on Stape GitHub of the same thing. Which one I should download? These old. You want to go with the setup assistant. So those containers you see on GitHub are sort of a version 0 of the setup assistant. We just played with some templates. It wasn't like cool enough, and like you're saying, you had to make choices and such. So yeah, go with the setup assistants. With the setup assistant, the stuff on GitHub is actually obsolete. It still lives there just in case and maybe for historical purposes, but yeah, setup assistant is the way to go. Can you show us the analysis tool in action, please? I think I would. I don't have the time, unfortunately, but you always can go Stape.io. Right in the header, there will be a tracking checker item, and you can plug in whatever website interests you. You can do Stape.io if you wanted to, and see what's up there. Definitely give it a go, but I'm sorry, we're just like short on time. How do you see checkout events in GTM debug? I just went through it, right? You don't in the web, you do in the server. And if you really want to catch them on the web, you either look in the network tab or check out the data layer through the console. Thanks for the answers, but you made a purchase and server didn't receive this one event. Am I right? It may have not popped in our preview. I don't remember really. That can happen. Again, this doesn't mean that event didn't reach you. This just means that Shopify is still screwing with this preview sessions. If you absolutely want to make sure that everything is fine there, again, first look into the network tab in your browser to make sure that the purchase event actually was sent towards the server, right? If you see a 200 there, that's already a good enough thing. Second is on Stape, we have logs in your account under your container. You can always check for purchase events there just to ensure that they're reaching. So I understand the sentiment completely. Shopify has screwed with the previews of GTM. It's complicated, it's unelegant, and it's not sort of straightforward. You unfortunately have to dance around it. But believe you me, if you installed our app, if you followed the sort of procedure, everything that I showed you about, the purchase events are actually being tracked with the actual payloads that you see configured in the containers. Is there any article to help learn more about the GTM web metapixel tag by Stape? I don't think so. Not yet, probably. There definitely will be because that's fairly new and we're still adding features to it. I see Vlad is typing something. Maybe there is, but yeah. I mean, if there isn't one,
Sorry, I just sent it
oh,
in
you
the
just send
reply.
it. Amazing.
Yeah, we released it like a couple of days ago, today actually.
Okay, lovely. There you go. You see, that's I have an excuse why I didn't know. So, yay. Thanks for the answers. Okay, we talked about that. Are there any considerations we need to be aware of regarding caching for server-side or same origin implementations? No, not that I think of, Simon. I mean, again, maybe you have something very particular in mind. Feel free to reach out to either myself or support or anyone. We'll look into it. But by default, no. The only like if you're in like Cloudflare, there's a cache rule that you have to configure. Again, a couple of clicks, follow our manual, but no major concerns. I don't think so. What is the name of your cat? It's Farouk. It's like Freddie Mercury sort of thing. Yeah, that's the cat. He says hi. Would we get the recording for this webinar? Oh yes, sir. You will get one. Okay. I think I've done them all. If there's anything else, we have like 4 minutes left. Feel free to send more questions. If not, I'll wrap it up. Well, thanks, great session. Well, thank you, anonymous attendee. Come again. Yeah, okay, let's wrap it up. Thanks everyone for the attention. You will definitely get a recording and some follow-up material as well. We hold these webinars once per month, so you can expect one in November as well. So please register, please come, and yeah, prepare your questions. Again, thanks everyone. I'll be off, and you guys have a good rest of your day. Cheers.